good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be exploring the history and geography of Khor in Qatar. Like I've said on this channel many times, we are exploring a tiny region in a tiny country. Qatar is a very small peninsula here on the Arabian Peninsula, jutting out into the Persian Gulf. Khor, you can see the city of Khor right here, but the actual area spans up to there, kind of this chunk here of the peninsula. Now, this area of Qatar has a very interesting landscape. I mean, it is pretty hot and dry. It's pretty on par for the Arabian Peninsula. But along the coast here are some absolutely amazing mangrove forests. If you don't know what mangroves are, they are trees that grow in salt water. So they cover the coastline here, and thankfully Qatar has done a lot to try to preserve it. You know, Qatar's infrastructure has boomed in the last 20-30 years, but they have made steps to make sure that that incredible area there, natural tree growth in the Arabian Peninsula, is preserved and maintained, which is really cool. And you can see that there's coasts on both sides of the Persian Gulf, but not a lot is happening on this side. It's all pretty much happening over here. And that's probably because the capital Doha is right there, right? It just kind of spreads out north up to here. So in terms of history, Qatar has a funny history because not much has happened in this little area until about the 1980s. CE, right? Until about 30-40 years ago. This region right here, there's actually some really cool historical accounts of the people who lived in this area. They were a Bedouin tribe known as the Al-Muhanadi. And I read this one really cool account from, I think, a British person that said that these people do not farm. They do not have cattle other than a handful of camels. They live exclusively off of pearling and fishing. Fishing makes sense because you're right there on the Persian Gulf, but the pearling industry is something very distinct to the Persian Gulf area here in Kuwait, which you can just barely say up there, in Bahrain, Qatar, and the coast of the Emirates. So all of this region here had a really amazing pearling culture where they would go out in their dhows, their big boats that were built without any kind of nails. It was all pieced together like a puzzle piece and would float. This is incredible. They would go out in their dhows. The pearlers would dive into the water, hold their breaths for as long as they could, and grab as many oysters as they could off of the seafloor. And just hope that there would be pearls inside, which of course they would sell at extravagant prices because that was a very difficult commodity to come across. That would drastically change in the 1930s because, one, it was the Great Depression, people weren't buying jewelry, and two, Japan had developed cultured pearls. I know when I was doing, what was it, Ajman over here? I think it was I was doing Ajman. I couldn't remember the word cultured pearls. Thank you for not giving me a hard time, but I remembered it today. They were able to have oysters growing in an aquacultured farm area, so they don't have to dive underwater. Pearls are formed when a little disturbance, like a piece of sand, goes inside of the oyster, and they wrap material around it inside of its little shell body, which forms a pearl. So they were able to like poke little holes into the oysters so that they would form pearls, like guaranteed pearls, which made pearls much more affordable and devastated the economy of these pearling cultured areas. So when oil was discovered off the Persian Gulf, things very suddenly, almost overnight, improved. Qatar, like some of its other neighbors, particularly the UAE, took the money and ran. They said, we have all of this extra money we want for nothing. We are now going to live in the lap of luxury, and started making their homes completely modern and extravagant, right? It is a very fancy place to be. You'd be in Qatar and it would be like you're in a very modernized Western country, and you go out to do high-end shopping, see sports, entertainment, all of those things. And particularly in the 2010s, when Qatar was approved to host the FIFA World Cup, Qatar's infrastructure absolutely blossomed. And that was true for Khor, not so much for the Doha region here, or last week I did Al Dayan right here, where it really started to expand because of the World Cup. But this area started to focus more on tourism. There are some really cool ancient sites from the ancient Bedouins who lived in the area here that you can visit and see some history, some really cool museums. The big draw, of course, being camping among the beautiful mangroves and taking out boats to explore this forest in the water. Really, really remarkable. But there are lots of other things to show you. So let me grab my tablet here. I'm going to pull up Google Earth. I just highlighted the city, not the region. And we're going to take a look at this area. I guess we can look at the slideshow. There's a really huge, beautiful park in Khor. It was what it was known for a long time. Here are these boats that are now just used for tourists to go out and explore the area, but it's what they would use for the pearling. The big city, and look, can you see flamingos? It is a very, very beautiful modern place. Oh, I forgot to mention that when I love these sculptures of the teapots that are all throughout. Big part of Bedouin culture is serving tea to your guests, no matter what, no matter who they are, where they came from. You serve them tea. The tribe here, I couldn't find it, but I'm sure it's somewhere. They said they had a magic well that had healing properties. So they would very, very, not fiercely, but strongly defend their territory because they wanted to protect that well. Like I said, I tried looking for it. I don't know where it is. But you can see little tiny fortification areas throughout the land here that they would have built. I feel like I'm not going to find any if I look. I've had some bad luck with Google Earth lately. But yeah, you can see that most of it is just desert. It's still a pretty dry, barren place, Qatar, even though you think of it as being super luxurious and amazing. Still lots of dry, barren places. So look at these forests, right? Absolutely beautiful. Let's take a look at some of the slideshows here. So you can take your boats out. It's almost like the Everglades, but without the alligators, right? It's the same kind of environment. There's Al Dakira right here, kind of like the second biggest city in the area. Nature Reserve, the Kira Nature Reserve. Yeah, so they have very closely preserved these areas to keep the wetlands wet, not let anyone develop them, cut down all of these beautiful trees, because a forest in this corner of the world is almost unheard of. Let's look at this beach. You can enjoy the amazing water, right? Very swampy and green. expansive it is too. It just stretches for so long along this coastline. Really, really incredible. It's definitely what this region is best known for, and why most Qataris and other tourists would come to this region to see this remarkable, remarkable forest. Let's see, Purple Island, mangroves. But yeah, it is very much like an Everglades kind of landscape. Sandy too, very wet, probably very hot and humid as well. But you can go kayaking, all kinds of water sports, right? So many ways you can enjoy the scenery here. Very, very beautiful. Let's head over to the city. So you can see there's Khor. Very modern place. It's not like the wow, amazing luxury of Doha. But I mean, look at this big dock area here, the port, for all of your fancy yachts and things. There's a museum here. Oh, there's no pictures. That's too bad. And then you can see the beautiful Corniche area, which in San Francisco we would call the Embarcadero. Like a beautiful park area along the water. You can see the old boat there, beaches, gardens, a little train, that's fun. Gazebos, old buildings. I wonder if that's the museum. Giraffes. I'm going to show you guys something really cool in a minute. Let's take a look. I can't wait. I want to show you guys. I found the coolest thing that if I were to visit Khor, this is the first place I would go. Let's head down here. Past all of the industry and things, you can see that there's like nothing there, and they're slowly building it up with all kinds of interesting things, stadiums and stuff, because they just had the World Cup, you know. You need lots of stadiums for the World Cup. This zoo area here, absolutely beautiful park with places for the kids to play, all kinds of animals. You saw that picture of the giraffe monkey buildings, but what's important is the panda house. Yes, indeed. You can see real life pandas. Why did I say it like that? Real life pandas in Qatar. Actual panda bears, and they have this incredible enclosure that you can view from the top, from down below, so that they can be totally unbothered, living their lives, eating their bamboo, doing panda stuff, while you get to watch them just relax and live the good life. Look at these statues of the oryx and the panda, their friends. Just chilling and vibing. Actual panda bears, right? Like he's ready to play in the World Cup. Absolutely amazing. You would never ever think there's pandas here in this corner of Qatar. Real life pandas. There's a little gift shop full of panda stuff too. I mean, you gotta stop there, right? Amazing, right? That would be the first place I would go. I've never seen a panda in my life. How amazing that in this just random corner of this tiny area, of this tiny country, we've got pandas. So amazing. I guess there's little beaches and things I could show you. Lots of shopping areas, beautiful parks, of course. But nothing too like, wow, you gotta check this out. It's nothing like pandas, right? So I think that's where I'm going to end it for tonight. Highly encourage you to check out these cities in Qatar, because you're going to find something cool no matter what, I promise you. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing, as we're going to every little corner of the world. Next, we are going to hop back down to Yemen, which I know I've covered a lot of Yemen recently, but I'm going in alphabetical order. We're doing all the ALs at the moment, and pretty much the entirety of the Yemeni governorate start with all blank. So we're spending a lot of time in Yemen, but that's not a bad thing because Yemen is absolutely fascinating. And it's going to be a double feature. I'm going to do 2 in 1 in the video. So there'll be lots of Yemen to show you on my next video. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. I hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good